hundreds danced to death. Strasbourg, 1518. The air, thick with the smells of the tannery and the Rhine, hung heavy with unspoken dread. The Holy Roman Empire, a patchwork of principalities and simmering discontent, teetered on the edge of religious upheaval. Martin Luther's theses were only a year old, yet the tremors of reform already shook the foundations of the old order. Amidst this climate of uncertainty, ordinary lives unfolded. Merchants haggled, children played, and farmers prayed for a bountiful harvest. But in the narrow, cobbled streets, a strange affliction was about to take hold, one that would defy explanation and leave an indelible mark on history. We begin our investigation not in a grand cathedral or a royal court, but in the simple home of Frau Traufia, a woman about to become the epicenter of a bizarre and terrifying event. It began on a sweltering summer morning. Frau Traufia, seemingly without provocation, stepped into the street and began to dance. Not a joyous dance of celebration, but a frantic, uncontrolled movement. Her limbs flailed, her face contorted in a mask of anguish, and her feet pounded the cobblestones with relentless energy. Neighbors watched, initially with amusement, then with growing concern as hours bled into days. And Frau Traufia continued her frenzied jig. She neither ate nor drank, seemingly fueled by an unseen force. The local physicians, baffled by her condition, could offer no explanation, no cure. Some whispered of demonic possession, others of divine punishment. But as days turned into a week, a more unsettling question began to emerge. Was Frau Traufia's affliction contagious? Within a week, more than 30 people had joined Frau Traufia's frenzied dance. Men, women, and children, seemingly compelled by the same invisible force, writhed and leaped in the streets. The town square transformed into a macabre stage, the rhythmic pounding of feet echoing through the city. The authorities, desperate to regain control, consulted with physicians, astrologers, and even the local clergy. Theories abounded, ranging from overheating of the blood to supernatural intervention. The city council, paralyzed by fear and lacking any understanding of the phenomenon, grasped at straws. Their initial response, fueled by a medieval understanding of medicine, would prove to be tragically misguided. Believing the afflicted were suffering from a hot blood imbalance, the counselors took a drastic measure. They ordered the construction of a stage in the town square, hired musicians, and commanded the dancers to dance more. Their reasoning, based on the antiquated notion of humoral theory, was that the dancing would exhaust the excess, hot blood, and restore balance. 2 musicians, fifers and drummers, were brought in and essentially forced to provide music. Far from curing the afflicted, this bizarre intervention only exacerbated the crisis. The music, rather than tiring them out, seemed to fuel their frenzy. The dancing plague was now a spectacle, attracting onlookers from neighboring villages, and the number of dancers continued to swell. The situation spiraled out of control. The dancers, driven to exhaustion and dehydration, began to collapse. Some suffered strokes, others heart attacks. Many simply died of sheer physical exertion. Yet even as death claimed its victims, the others continued to dance, their bodies jerking and twitching in a grotesque parody of celebration. The physicians, witnessing the failure of their remedies, retreated into helpless observation. The clergy, convinced of demonic influence, performed exorcisms, which proved equally ineffective. The city council, facing growing panic and mounting casualties, found themselves trapped in a nightmare of their own making. Rumors began to circulate of a curse, a divine wrath unleashed upon the city for its sins. But what sins, and why this bizarre form of punishment? As the death toll mounted, the city council finally reversed course. Realizing their error, they banned music and public dancing. They consulted with more physicians, seeking alternative explanations. One theory, gaining traction among the more skeptical minds, pointed towards a possible food poisoning. Specifically, ergot, a fungus that grows on rye, and which, when ingested, can cause convulsions, hallucinations, and spasms. Ergotism, also known as St. Anthony's fire, was a known affliction in the Middle Ages. Could this be the explanation for the dancing plague? It seemed plausible, offering a rational, albeit terrifying, cause for the bizarre behavior. The counselors, seizing on this new theory, implemented strict regulations on the grain supply. They ordered inspections of the rye, hoping to identify and eliminate the source of the contamination. Simultaneously, they sought the intervention of religious authorities, dispatching representatives to nearby shrines and monasteries, seeking divine intercession. The afflicted were taken to the shrine of Saint Vitus, a saint believed to have power over nervous disorders, in the hope of a miraculous cure. The desperation of the authorities was palpable, a stark contrast to their initial misguided attempts to control the situation. But was ergot the true culprit? Or was there a more sinister explanation lurking beneath the surface? While the ergot theory provided a seemingly logical explanation, it failed to account for certain aspects of the dancing plague. Not all those affected exhibited the symptoms of ergotism. Furthermore, the dancing often appeared to be deliberate, albeit uncontrollable. Some dancers even claimed to be experiencing visions, both religious and terrifying. A darker possibility began to emerge: mass hysteria, a psychological phenomenon in which shared anxieties and beliefs manifest as physical symptoms. Perhaps the religious fervor, the economic hardship, and the underlying social tensions of the time had created a fertile ground for a collective breakdown. The concept of mass hysteria, while controversial, offered a compelling alternative to the purely medical explanations. It suggested that the dancing plague was not simply a physical affliction, but a manifestation of deeply rooted psychological distress. The residents of Strasbourg, living in a world of constant uncertainty and fear, may have succumbed to a collective delusion, fueled by superstition and religious extremism. This theory, however, raised uncomfortable questions about the nature of belief, the power of suggestion, and the fragility of the human mind. Was the dancing plague a disease of the body, or a disease of the soul? The investigation took an unexpected turn when rumors began to surface about a charismatic preacher who had recently arrived in Strasbourg. This itinerant friar, known for his fiery sermons and apocalyptic pronouncements, had been drawing large crowds with his warnings of impending doom. He preached of sin, damnation, and the wrath of God, fueling the already heightened anxieties of the population. Could this preacher have played a role in triggering the dancing plague? Was he a manipulative charlatan, exploiting the fears of the vulnerable? Or was he simply a messenger of God, whose words inadvertently unleashed a psychological storm? The city council, wary of fueling further unrest, hesitated to directly confront the preacher. However, they discreetly launched an investigation into his activities, seeking to uncover any evidence of manipulation or incitement. They questioned his followers, scrutinized his sermons, and delved into his past, searching for any clues that might link him to the dancing plague. The preacher, aware of the growing scrutiny, vehemently denied any involvement. He claimed to be a humble servant of God, simply delivering his message to a sinful world. But beneath his pious facade, could there be a more sinister motive? As the investigation deepened, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Several of the initial dancers had been among the preacher's most ardent followers. They had attended his sermons religiously, absorbing his apocalyptic pronouncements with fervent zeal. Furthermore, it was revealed that the preacher had a history of mental instability, having suffered from bouts of depression and hallucinations. Could he have unwittingly transmitted his own psychological distress to his followers, triggering a chain reaction of mass hysteria? The evidence, while circumstantial, was compelling. The preacher, it seemed, was not merely a bystander, but a potential catalyst for the dancing plague. The city council, facing mounting pressure from the public and the clergy, finally decided to take action. They summoned the preacher for questioning, demanding an explanation for his role in the events unfolding in Strasbourg. The preacher, initially defiant, began to crack under the intense interrogation. He confessed to experiencing visions and hearing voices, admitting that his sermons were often fueled by intense emotional turmoil. However, he vehemently denied any intention to incite violence or cause harm. He claimed to be a victim of his own troubled mind, swept up in a wave of religious fervor that he could no longer control. The preacher's confession, while providing some insight into the psychological dynamics of the dancing plague, did not fully resolve the mystery. It raised further questions about the nature of mental illness, the power of suggestion, and the responsibility of religious leaders. Was the preacher solely to blame for the events in Strasbourg, or was he simply a product of his time, a symptom of a deeper societal malaise? The answer, it seemed, was far more complex than initially imagined. The dancing plague was not simply a medical anomaly, a psychological breakdown, or a religious delusion. It was a confluence of all these factors, a perfect storm of historical circumstances. In the end, the dancing plague of 1518 gradually subsided. The authorities, through a combination of quarantine measures, religious interventions, and perhaps the sheer passage of time, managed to contain the outbreak. The afflicted slowly recovered, although many bore lasting physical and psychological scars. The preacher, deemed a threat to public order, was banished from Strasbourg. The city, shaken by the experience, attempted to return to normalcy, but the memory of the dancing plague lingered, a haunting reminder of the fragility of human sanity and the power